Hi guys! So this is Marcy from Prints and Paints, and today we are going to learn how to do this beautiful, different, and unique mandala. It is a beautiful series of dots that lay in the background, and then overlapping that we've done a series of these three-dimensional looking swooshes. It's really different, very unique, and I love it. And if you're interested in doing this tutorial with me, stay tuned and we'll get to it. Hi everyone, this is Marcy, and this is Prints and Paints. It's good to see you again. Today we are going to be doing a tutorial on Swoosh Sanity. That's what I want to call it today. It will be a project, so it's going to be a mandala. I'm going to be doing it on a 12-inch MDF hardboard. The thickness for this one is going to be a 1/4 inch thick. And I did prep it already, so if you want to go ahead and do that, I will tell you which colors you need to do. In the meantime, let's just go through all of the items that we will need for this project today. So normally I like to work on a Lazy Susan. This is just something that helps me spin around and it keeps my paints from getting on my nice wood. So I use that. I have the MDF hardboard. This is the 12-inch. And then I also am going to be using a couple other things. So I'm going to be using my ruler that I have available. You can check the card up above right now. And this is available on my Etsy. If you don't want to use a ruler, you can always opt to use a compass. We just want to make sure that we get our guidelines mapped out. I'm also going to be using a series of dotting tools. So I'm going to be going with the white DIY Mandala Stone dotting tools. I like these, and these are my go-tos. If you want to use marks, happy dotting, I'm not sure what other ones are available. Whatever you have, please use them. Just keep in mind that the size reference may be slightly off. So if I'm using a certain size, it could be kind of different. You can always look up on their websites a size chart technically, or if they are true to the millimeter size, you can always look up the millimeter sizes. I'm also going to be using these 5 stylus that I normally use for my videos. You can check the description and the link will be there for you. I'm also going to be using I think I'm going to use a white, or I might actually this time around, I think I'm going to use the darker one, only because I have a lighter background today. So either way, I'm going to use a watercolor pencil. I'm also going to probably use one of these swoosh pullers. So this just helps if I make extremely large swooshes and I want to pull them. You don't necessarily have to use this. You can also use a very small end of a stylus pen. I'm also going to use probably something with the silicone tip onto it. These are good just for mixing my paints. I'm also going to be using a protractor to get my segment lines, and then with my ruler I can make my straight edge lines. I'm also going to use, to mix my paints, I'm going to use Liquitex pouring medium. You can use water, just keep in mind the ratios. If you want to know more about ratios, you can look up, and I'll make sure I have the video available in the card. You can click on that before you watch this. It tells you all about pouring mediums, water. It tells you about fluid mediums, the differences of them. So the paints I'm going to be using, I'm going to use the DecoArt Americana's paints. So I'm going to use a variation of different colors, and I'm also going to use tints. So I'm introducing tints to you on this project in particular. So keep that in mind. So the colors I'm going to use a series of browns and tans. So I'm going to use Mississippi Mud. The other brown I'm going to use is Portobello. And then the tans, I'm going to use Khaki Tan. I'm also going to use Burlap. Burlap is my base coat, actually. And then I'm going to use Sugared Peach. I'm going to use Warm White. If you don't have warm white and you want to use regular white, fine, no worries. They're very close. Honey Brown. I'm going to use the Burnt Orange color. I'm going to use the color Laurel and Thicket. These are my colors. It's a nice, beautiful color scheme. It's kind of on the beachy side, so it might look good with beach decor in your house, or just, you know, distressed kind of old colors. That was my main theme, was beach and also distressed woods, old woods. The colors of the green were like old metal that has turned green. I don't know. I forget the oxidation of what that's called. So with the Thicket, though, also, I want to show you, I made a series of tints. Now, in my other video, I don't know if I described this, but I want you to understand that shades are when you add black to a color. So you get shades. So if I added black to Thicket, it would be shades. If I add white, it's tints. And then if I add grays, they are tones. So you have your 3 shades, tones, and tints. Remember that. I'll make sure I kind of put it right here. And so you can understand better. So we mixed whites. And so what I wanted to do with the Thicket color in particular was I wanted to make a monochromatic. Monochromatic just means you have different tints or shades of one color. So I mixed all of these together. I also have a card up available if you want to see how to do that. I just made a video out for how to make monochromatic mixing colors. So I'm going to be using Thicket for this particular project, and I made a series of, I think it's 11 tints altogether. You're going to want to use probably a tray, or if you prefer to have your paint pots. I also might use a series of brushes. So I have my swoosh brushes. These are usually my go-tos. So I have my Zooting. I got these off Amazon. They were very inexpensive. They're not like the best in the market, but they are awesome. So I just want one that's really long and thin, one that's short and thin, and then I have a medium one. This one I bought at Hobby Lobby. So this is the Master's Touch Fine Art Studio, and it's liner number 1. So they're kind of like 3 different sizes. We may use them, we may not, but I like to have them on hand. And then our mandala. So I'm going to put my stuff away real quick, and then I'm going to start mapping out my guidelines. Again, before you do your guidelines, take your burlap color out. If you want to prep it first, I did do, if you can show a quick video, I did use the gesso acrylic base, and that's just like a primer that helps. Mostly you use that for painting on canvases, because canvas can be a little loose when you're pushing down, so it acts as a binder and tightens up your canvas, but it also can act as something that smooths out your canvas, because your canvas has, you know, texture to it. So that's why we use gesso on canvas. I used it on my MDF. I know it's smooth already, but I wanted the light color to come through real nicely. And when you get to lighter tones of colors, of tints of colors, they tend to seep through your wood, and then you are finding yourself doing 6 coats of paint. So I did do that. I sanded it, I did some gesso, and then I did my burlap. I didn't do the back. I normally do it black. So I will get that too when I'm finished, obviously. If you want to do that first, by all means, go right ahead. I just made sure I did the sides I painted and the top. I also did this, I wanted to show you really quick. I have this design that I'm going to be using. I have this available on my Etsy as well. It is a PDF download version. It is going to be in the size of a average 8.5 by 11 paper for your printer. And all you can do is print it out, and then you can either put this on a light board and trace the back, or you can use what's called graphite paper, which I'm going to use eventually, and it will trace out onto my mandala. I'm going to use this for this project though, guys, so be sure to do that if you want to download it. If not, you can always do it freehand if you want to try to mimic this. I think the download I only have is like $1 or $2, so I didn't make it very expensive. So if you want to do that, you can download. And I think that's all we have right now. So I'm going to get my ruler out. I'm going to find my center circle, my center. And then from there, I'm going to do my guidelines all the way around. I'm going to do it in a time lapse. So take your time in this, please, and meet me back here. And then once we're finished, we can continue. Okay, guys, so we finished doing our what's called guidelines. The guidelines go around in a circle. You can do that, like I said, with the ruler or a compass. Now, what we're going to do is gonna keep my ruler handy. If you don't have a ruler, find a straight edge or something. And I'm going to use my protractor. I love using the protractor. I think it's a great tool. And I'm just lining up the center dot with my protractor dot centered. It doesn't matter where it's falling as far as the numbers go. This is just going to help me keep my segment lines perfectly spaced apart. So I'm going to do one at the 90 degree, which is the top, and then again in the bottom. And I'm going to do one at the 0. So right there I have 1, 2, 3, 4 segments. And then I'm probably going to do one, I'd say in the middle somewhere. Maybe. So yeah, I'm going to do one in the middle. So I'm going to do, so half of a 90 is 45. So we're going to do one right at the 45 mark. We're going to do one at the 45 down here. Again over here, because we want these to line up with each other. And 45 right here. And I think that's it for now. I don't think I'm going to do much on this one because it's such a small piece. Try not to move it. Make sure that you have your up and, your north, south, east, and west. So you can put your protractor away. Now I'm just going to make sure my pencil's nice and sharp. And then I'm going to line up my top one, my 90 with my bottom 90. I'm trying to make sure it goes over that center hole as well. Alright. Looks good. When you do this too, this is like an old architect trick. When you put your pencil down, if you spin your pencil while you make your line, oops, it keeps your pencil sharpener. So you have to keep continuing to sharpen your pencil. It keeps a nice tip to it. So, good trick to learn. So, we got that one now. Now we can do across this way. So, I'm just turning it. Then I'm going to line these up as well. I'm going to do this side. So really you're just lining up your opposite ends. If you don't have any of these tools, you can always use the stencils that usually come in those kits. I use them on occasion too for certain projects. you can always use one of those. You're just going to want to get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You want 8 segments around. I think the last project I had was 8 segments as well, and it was the sunflower one. So it's the same concept. So if you watch that video, you can see me use the stencil for that. Now, so I'm going to do a series probably of dots here, but I'm also going to do this in the center. So I'm going to do one here, here, and here. And then I can do like a series of things around it. This is going to be a very simple type of project. It's just that we're working with doing this design. We can go smaller technically, but I think I want to go big for this one. So I need to get some graphite paper out that I'm going to use to transfer it onto here. Okay, so this is graphite paper. This is in the white color. It smells really cool. It smells like a box full of crayons. It really does. It's very interesting. So I'm just going to need 1 sheet of this. It does come in a big sheet, so I think I'm going to probably want to cut it. Looks like I did already. Let's see, it comes in a very large sheet. Now I could probably just drape this over it and do it that way, but I like to work in little increments and try to use up. So I'll be sure to leave this product in the description. I'll leave the link for it so that if you want to purchase this, you can. Otherwise, like I said, you can always just do, I mean, you would probably have to use a lead pencil, graphite pencil to transfer it though. So, you know, keep that in mind, that it might be a little tricky to take off that lead pencil off of your mandala. And I don't know if watercolor would actually transfer. It might. I've just never tried it before. So you can always, you know, if you don't have a light box is something that illuminates here and then it helps you trace it. If you don't have that, you can always like hold this up to a glass door during the daylight and then trace it. So you could see, like, see how you can see through it like that. You hold it up to a light, or a piece of glass even, and then hold it up to a light. I have a light board, but I never really use it, so I like using this stuff. This is great stuff. So you want to feel the texture. So there's going to be this there's like a non-slip area. This is very like feels like paper, but then this part feels like almost like a crayon. It's got residue to it. This is the side you're going to want to use. So what I'm going to do is just try to line it up. And I'm going to get my stencil here. And I'm just going to try to eyeball this part with my line here. And try to get it as close as I can to the base of this. And make sure that this part as well is lined up with the line. That's it. And then with this, now I don't even need a pencil. I can just use my stylus. I'm going to use the small one. And I'm just going to want to go over each line like so. This may take a while to do, so, you know, be patient. And then when you're finished, hopefully, yeah, you can see the very faint line of that coming out. I might have to go over it with my watercolor pencil as well, just to be able to see it. But I'm gonna do this one for the bottom, the top, and the 2 sides. Alright, and then when we finish, we will start painting. Okay guys, so I got my 4 elements of my paper. So all I did was, like I said, I traced with my graphite paper. If you can see closely, there is some white underneath, and that was from the graphite paper. And then all I did was I took a dark pencil and I traced over that area just so you can see it and I can see it. I also did a little teardrop on each corner over here, if you want to do that, you can. It's not a big deal. We might not do that right now, so I'm just trying to get a sketched out idea. So it should look something like this. All right, we're going to focus on doing our green colors within these 4 elements, as well as our accent of our orange. And then I'd say most of all of our browns we're going to focus on doing that in the background. So in between all of these. So I think I'm going to focus on doing the center portion first. So I'm going to get my DIY dotting tools, and I'm going to get the size 14. I like to go with this size. It's a nice in-between size. It's not too large and not too small. And I think the center I'm going to do the orange. All right. So if you want right now, you can take your paints and start mixing them. I'm going to do mine in my tray. So I have my tray, and again, I'm just going to do about half the tray the orange color, the paint, and then the other half I'm going to do my pour-in medium. I'll get something to mix it. I'm going to use this just to mix these up. And then I think I'm going to do a quick time lapse, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my colors as well. So you're going to want to mix your Portobello, your Mississippi Mud, your Khaki Tan, your Honey Brown, and your Sugared Peach. And we're going to focus on doing our browns first, I want to say. And our burnt orange. Leave the other ones alone. We're not going to use these yet, or we're not going to use these either. So let's mix them up real quick. Okay guys, I'm back. So now that I've mixed my colors together, so I have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors, and I'm going to be working with. They're all nice neutral tones, very on the brown hue. And so we're going to start in our center. I'm going to start with my orange as my accent color. So I'm doing the number 14 dotting tool. And I'm just going to dot that center the best I can. Just like that. I'm going to wipe off my dotting tool because I'm not going to use this size anymore. And then from here, I'm going to start a series of dots around that dot. So I'm going to go with my size 1 dotting tool, a small one. And I'm going to go into my Sugared Peach first. So, and with this, I'm just going to dot around the perimeter. I'm more focused on the dot itself, not my guidelines for this one, because your dot could be off-centered slightly, or whatever the case may be. Let's zoom in so you can see. So I'm just gonna do a row of dots. There's no right or wrong way of doing this one. I personally like to just go around. I've been able to understand how to space my dots apart on many occasions to where I usually fall within the right amount of dots. That looks good. So there's our first row of dots. And now we're going to do probably one more row. So I'm going to get my size 3 out. It's a little bit larger than the small ones. And I think I'm going to go into... Actually, sorry, I'm going to flip it around and use my number 2 first. I'm going to use the Honey Brown. And I'm just going to try to place these dots in between the other ones, the Sugar Peach dots, the ones I just did. If you find that your dots are too close together and it can't happen, then just go around, because mine kind of fall that way too. They're not exactly spaced in between each one. It can be very complicated when they're this small. So again, I'm just gonna, I started with in between one of them, and I'm kind of just working my way around it now. So that looks good. Now, zoom out for a second. Now my main objective right now is, I think we're going to continue. So I think what we're going to do is keep gradually growing in size with our dots. We're not focusing on this part in particular just yet. I'm focusing on in between where these guidelines are. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue, like I said, to keep growing. So, and I'm just going to continue my colors that way. So I'm going to do my size 3 dotting tool. And I might alter, I might go back and forth between colors at this point, but I'm going to stick with this palette just for the background. So now I'm going to go with, let's see, I think we're going to go with the Khaki Tan. And we're using the size 3. Now I should be able to fall in between these dots because they're starting to grow in size and there's spacing in between them now. I'm also falling on this next line here, if you see. So that should be working for you there. Good. I know this color can tend to blend in a bit. It's a little hard to see because it is, yeah, so it's kind of blending in, but that's okay. I know it's close to the shade of Burlap, so once it dries it'll be a little bit darker and you will be able to see it. So alright, I'm going to keep going. So my next size is my size 4 dotting tool, the purple, and we're going to go to our Portobello color. So this is my Portobello. Now my sizes are going to grow significantly, so this dotting tool alone kind of fills in that whole little space right here on the next line. And there we go. I'm going to clean off my dotting tool. Now my next one is going to be the pink, and it's going to be our size 5 dotting tool, and we're going to go right into our Mississippi mud color, the brown one. And again, I'm just falling a little bit past that line now, and I'm going to fall in between each dot. That's my main focus for this part, is to just be falling in between the dots. I'm filling in that negative space. That looks great. Also guys, real quick, if you can subscribe to my channel and hit a like for the video if you're enjoying it so far, and make sure you hit the bell for future videos, and thank you for your support. I have a Patreon that I have created. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, but I decided to do it. It really is just something that can help me buy supplies for the paintings that I do for you, helps me get my MDF boards, because a lot of it comes out of pocket and it could get pricey. So if you want to donate, please do so. I'm not begging you, I'm not asking you, I'm not putting up any kind of secret videos or anything like that. When my videos come out, they come out and you'll be able to watch them for free. So, but if you feel the need to give back, I would be greatly appreciated. You can check the link in my description for my Patriot account. So let's get back into it. So we did our colors, all right. So now we did all of them actually. So we're just going to keep going in this like different style. We're going to keep going with the different colors. So I did that first pattern, and now see how I have this one little negative space. Some of them go a bit over, tad, some fall on it. I think most of them go a little bit over this next line here. So what I think I'm going to do now is start with a larger size, and then I'm going to fill in. So I'm not going to do like here, but I will do in these negative spaces and this, so it kind of looks like, if I zoom out, these, when they're finished painting, it almost will give a three-dimensional look, as if these sit on top of the background color. Hopefully it looks good. We'll see, right? So my next color I think we're going to do now, we're going to start switching up the variations of the colors, but we're sticking with the same palette. So now that I've finished my largest stylus, I'm going to go into my DIYs and I'm going to do my size 5. I know I just used size 5, but this one is a bit larger, so the grade of sizes, well, it'll be subtle. So I'm going to do size 5, and then I'll flip over and do size 6 as well. So I think what I'm going to do for now, let's see, let's zoom in so we can see. And I think I'm going to go back into my honey brown. And then, like I said, this next line down, maybe I'll continue the last one. I think I might do this, so just so that I don't have that negative space on this particular line. I know I'm looking more at this one, but I need to focus on this space too. So if I lay a dot here, there might be too much space in between both of them. So for this one in particular, the 5, I'm resting on the next line with my dot. It's almost kind of centered, if you notice. And then they're going to fall in between the Mississippi mud. And I'm just going to do those all the way around. Looks good. So there is my honey brown. Now I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to do my size 6. You'll notice that what I'm basically doing is I'm going up in each step of my dotting tools. So if you are working with marks, mandalas, or happy dotting tools, just start with a small, even if you start with like the size 1, and work your way out. That's really what I'm doing for this particular area. So if you can do that, play around with the colors yourself. You don't have to follow this tutorial 100%, but I'm just gonna do some random colors for myself for this one. So I'm doing the size 6, and now I'm gonna go into my Portobello. And now, so here, this is where it's going to get tricky because I'm falling now into this shape. I don't want to be messing up that shape. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to leave this alone. I'm not going to fill in these negative spaces. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start dotting. So I'm going to do one dot like that. And then I'm going to see how many I can get. It looks like I can get 4 out of that area right there. See how I did 4? And then I'm going to probably repeat that. I'm going to do 4 here, and 4 here, and 4 here. You're worried about you know, not having enough space left over, or you have too much space, or you find that you're doing them so close that you have to do 5 on each one, or 1 on that, and then 4 over here and 5 over here, and da-da-da, then do like, you could do it this way. You could do like 1 dot in the corner, and then do 1 dot on this corner, and now you can go back in and fill in 1 dot here and 1 dot here, so you know that they're perfectly spaced apart. That is a good way of doing that. Alright, so there's my size 6 dotting tool. We used the Portobello. Again, I'm going to keep moving up, so now I'm getting my number 7. And I'm going to go into my Khaki Tan. Now remember, this one is a little light, so it might be slightly off, well, in the sense like you might not be able to see it, but I think it's just fine. I think it'll look good. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm getting 4 out of this one as well, because my dot size is significantly growing. So I'm going to get 4 out of this side. 2, 3, 1 more. So there's my Khaki Tan in the size 7. Now I'm going to flip it over and do size 8. I'm going to be using my Sugared Peach this time. The Sugared Peach looks very white on the camera, but I can assure you it's almost like a creamy color. And again, I'm just falling in between this area. So I'm resting my dots on the line, the base at the bottom of the line. Alright. Again, it looks apparent that I'm getting about 4 out of each area. That one was a little bit small, but that's okay. It looks fine. You want to be careful that they don't bleed together and start forming one big long dot. If you notice when I'm doing this too, if I feel like I don't have a lot of space, I'm literally like just kissing the surface with my dotting tool. I'm not even hitting the surface with the tool itself. And this way I have a little bit better control over the size of my dot, but also how much paint is coming out. Like coming off of the dotting tool, I should say. So, let me zoom out so you guys can see what we're doing here. So you see, so we're going to keep going, and we're going to work in this small area, and then it's going to start tapering out that way. And like I said, I'm just doing some random colors. I'm bouncing around between the color palette. If you find a different way that you want to do it, please by all means go ahead. The only one I think I might throw in there time to time, or not at all, is the orange. I might leave these little teardrops for the orange, and then the rest of it is just those nice neutral colors. So that's that. Alright, let's see. Now we can go into our size 9 dotting tool. And again, these are going to grow significantly too, to where your dots might start falling on 2 of the lines instead of 1. That can happen too, and it's going to happen, I know it is. So, alright, let's zoom in again so you can see. I think we're going to do the Mississippi Mud now. This is a size 9 dotting tool. Got 4 out of that too. If you do find that yourself is not getting like 4 in a row, if you feel more comfortable just doing like say 3, then please just do that, guys. Don't make this a stressful event. This is supposed to be relaxing and calming and meditative. Alright, so that was my number 9 dotting tool. Now I'm going to flip it over and do my size 10. And I'm going to go back into my honey brown again. Now this size dotting tool I'm actually not able to fit inside that 1/4 inch space that I have in between the 2 lines. So I'm actually going to be falling now like in the middle of the line. I also think I'm going to just do 3 dots now, because to try to cram in 4 might actually bleed them all together, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to do 3 dots of the size 10. So all I do is I make sure that I'm dotting in the center of the line. I'm going to do 1 on each side, so I have that nice amount of spacing. And then actually where this segment line meets it, I'm going to dot in the center there. It makes it easy when to have these segment lines here, so that you know your spacing. These are why they're so important sometimes. That's size 10. Moving right along here. Clean that off. Now I'm going to get my size 11. If you run into a problem where you have a small set of dotting tools and you find that like your largest is like a 12 or 13, because sometimes they do sell smaller dotting tool sets, I would just maybe just play around with going to the largest size you have and then going backwards from there. So say if your 12 was the largest and you finished it, but I'm still going in larger sizes, just go back to your 11 and go backwards and see how that pattern turns out. I would recommend doing something like that, guys. Let's do Portobello. And again, this size now, let's see. So yes, this size is quite large. I think I'm going to get 3 out of it. Yeah, I'm going to get 3 out of the size 11. I'm actually dotting on the next full space that I have. And again, kiss the surface for the center one if you find that it needs to be smaller. There we go. So the shape is taking really cool. See how it's starting to become this really neat pattern. And so this is going to like act as if this is the entire background, and then this we laid on top of it. So hopefully if we do it right, it should give it this like nice pop to it. It should look like a 3-dimensional type of style. Alright, so I'm going to do size 12 now, right? Or did I do size 12? I'm losing count here. Let's see, 5. Yeah, so I'm doing 12. I'm going to do the Khaki Tan. And now this one is going to fall on my line. So it's falling on that line. I'm centering the dot with the line. And again, I'm only getting 3 out of this one. Eventually, as my sizes grow, I might only be able to get like 1 or 2 dots in this small area. But we'll see once we keep going. I have not done this. I'm kind of doing this blindsided, so hopefully this looks good. I usually imagine something in my mind and then I just paint it. I don't really have a set idea. This is the only one that I had with the stencil per se that I wanted to kind of work out. So that's done. So 12 is done. We're going to move into the size 13 now. I think my dotting tools go all the way up to like, gosh, 28. Yeah, that's why I kind of like using the DIYs too, because you have a nice variation of sizes. It just keeps going. It's cool. Alright, now I'm going to do my sugared peach. And it looks like from when I drew this that the sugar peach, ooh, should I do 3 or 2? Let's see how that looks. It's a little off. I think I'm going to erase that, guys. That's why I like to do this too, so you can see exactly what it is that I do and how I have to clean it up and fix it and all that. So, alright, we're going to carefully remove this dot. This is why I like to have Q-tips on hand when I'm painting as well, so that I can just remove that color really quick. I might remove some of the lines, but that's okay. Let's see. Let's go back to that one since it's wet. I don't want it to bleed through a little bit, so. So I'm just going to do 2 dots for this one. I don't know if 3 is going to work. So really all I'm doing now is I'm centering it with this portion and the line. So this little area here, I'm going to center my 1 dot. You notice I am kind of falling on the next line too, so I'm just making sure that my tip of my dot is resting on the next line there. Again, I'll do this one. Just like that. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Do you want to see really close up? This is as close as I can get. So again, I took my dotting tool and I made sure that this portion of my dot is resting on this line, which is the next line. I'm not too concerned about where it's falling on this line or here. I'm just making sure that it's centered with this part and this part, so we're centered here. This one's slightly over because I wasn't sure, but so I'm just going to put this one like right here, and I'm going to work like that. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to do 14. And I think we're going to go into doing honey brown again. Now honey brown is just going to be 1 dot right there. And that's because I made my teardrop. So, to zoom out a little bit to show you the teardrop. What I did with the teardrop is I went up the second line from the bottom. So 1, 2. And I just drew a little swoosh by freehand. And I brought it all the way up to the 9th line in. So I counted 9 up and I stopped there. I put a little X, okay? It should fall where these kind of taper down to, these little right there. So that, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to do it orange. So again, second line up for the base of it, and the 9th line up is where we stop. So again, that's the same thing. Second line up and the 9th line up. We stop there. And so these 2 dots, I'm just going to center them in between the teardrop tip part and this element here. This one too. And then one last one. Wonderful. That looks fantastic. And it really is coming together nicely. I think it looks really cool. We can even probably go back through with a different color and maybe fill in some of these negative spaces with little micro dots if we're feeling really ambitious. We can definitely do that. So, okay, let's see. I gotta find size 15 because I normally don't use these sizes. Where's 15? There you are. So I'm doing 15 and 16 for the next ones. I'm gonna go into my, I'd say my chocolate, or not chocolate brown, my Mississippi mud. It looks like chocolate brown. So you're gonna do something like that. Again, it's the same thing as the yellow for this little area here. I'm not too concerned about how it's falling on that grid line. I'm really just trying to center it so that I have enough space between the yellow and the brown, though. I want to make sure that those are nicely spaced and also lined up. So try to keep an eye on, you know, this one and this one and this one, so they're nicely neat and stacked and you're not like all crooked. Some of them can be slightly off. There we go, and the last one. It's coming along. It looks good. It looks real good. And now size 16, and we're going to go into our Portobello. And let's start mixing my paints again because they're starting to almost like separate. That tends to happen when they sit. So keep in mind if you start to see your paint separating. By that is when I mean like, oh, can you see this? It's a little hard to see. Anyway, the honey brown's starting to get these like little crack looking things in it. You just want to stir it up again. That's all. It's no biggie. So this one, now I'm going to start next to my teardrop. So because this is big, it's going to fall on the next two lines. So I'm going to center my dot in that center line right there. So I have my top one, my center one, and my bottom one. I'm focusing on these three lines right here. And I'm going to center my dot the best I can, like that. And then I'm just going to try to ballpark here how many dots I can get out of this little area. I think I'm only going to get 3. Because I don't want to put one here because I've got that there and it's going to fall into it. So I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to do one there too. 3. And then 3. So we got 3 on either side. That's how we're going to do that part. So we're going to go around and do the next one. And guys, take your time when you're doing this, please. Take your time with your dotting. Do it nice and slow. It helps you get really good precision when you do that. Here's the next one. Okay, and then, so, let's see. Zoom out a little bit so we can see what we're working with here. So, it's coming along nicely. I've got 16. I'm going to move on to 17 now, my size. Probably going to get up to like 18, and I think that's it. That's going to be the end of it. We're going to do, I'd say, let's see. Let's do our khaki tan color. So I'm going to fix my Khaki Tan up a bit because it's been sitting. And again for this one, I think I'm just gonna fall. I'll show you. I'm gonna fall like the next line that's down from there. The tip of that, the top of that dot is gonna rest on it. There's 2. Looks like we'll probably get about 4 or 5. Actually, we're gonna get probably about 5 dots of this one. Yeah, we're gonna do 5 dots of that one. I kind of wonder if I should have did a different color, but that's okay. I think it'll be fine. We need to switch up these colors, and we need to use this color. So yeah, I'm gonna do 5 dots out of this one. 2, 3, 4, and then I just get 5 in there. Yeah, so there's 5. So it'll look like that, and you're coming down to this bottom half too, so they're all nicely aligned. So moving on, we'll do the next one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I might need some more paint. I'm not sure because I got to do 2 more rows of this. 2 more airs, like sections. 1, 2, 3. The bigger the dotting tool, the more paint you'll see is gonna want to absorb that too. So one, 2, 3. I'm really just trying to make sure that they're all like perfectly aligned and just evenly spaced. Last one. I think I might just get enough paint to what I need. 3, 5. There we go. So there is our large size 17 dots. I might go in this little section here too and do these dots right here, the white ones, but I want to see how it's going to look first. I'm not sure if I want to do that because I have a negative space here too, which I can add some of these dots as well. I'm not sure yet. We're going to go do that last for sure. So size 18, and I'm contemplating if I want to do orange for the last portion or I want to do white. I think we're going to do white, only because I like the orange as like an accent. It's not like, it's not going to be the dominant of this whole. So we're going to do the sugared peach. So I'm going to mix that up. I might need more of this. And what I'm going to do for this one now is I'm going to dot the center below my teardrop. So like that. I'm going to start in the middle and I'm going to work my way out. I think that would be the best way to do this. And looking at the size of these dots, they're going to fall in the last 2 sections here, like this area right here. So again, I'm just trying to make sure that the top of my dot is resting on that line there. This way they're all straight. Perfect. See, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of one side. So 1, 2, and that's counting the center one. So if I did over here, it would be 1, 2, 3. This one, for some reason, a little bit more. I don't know why. And they're even spaced apart. Yeah, that something wasn't centered, maybe. I'm not sure. It's okay, though. You know, this is the last row, so really, you're not counting. Like, if you did more on this side than over here, and you had 4 here and 3 here, it would be more of an issue. But because this is acting as a border, and it's actually going all the way around, don't stress if you have 8 on this side and 7 on the other side. The key is to just kind of get that filled in. So if you notice, like if I zoom out a little bit, this section in particular right here, I have the element here and I have the element here, but I managed to be able to have a tiny little bit of negative space, but not much, and then my dots went all the way around. So that does look perfect, I'd say. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to work on this side now. If you have to clean your dotting tools off too, just make sure you do that, because you can get some buildup on the large ones a lot. They can start drying or getting a little bit gloppy, you know. Okay, that's good. I have to turn this a little bit because I actually have trouble trying to see the back part of the dot because the dotting tool is so large. So I'm gonna kind of work like this a little bit. There we go. Probably going to need a little bit more of my sugared peach here too soon. Definitely. That's why I said when you get larger dotting tools, you use a lot more paint. Obviously, right? So, let me wash this off real quick. And then I'm going to mix some paint really, really quick. Alright. I got my sugared peach. Good. Some of my pouring medium. Good. And then I'm just gonna mix it with my little tool. I like to use these silicone tips in the end of these dotting tools. They really get in there and you can scrape the sides of it, and you know, you can use your dotting tools. I don't really recommend it that much, only because you could potentially like chip the dotting tool or scrape it, and you know, you want that perfect circle to always remain there. Especially when you're working with the ones that look kind of like this. They're all plastic. They can really chip at the ends if you're not careful with them. I think those were my first dotting tools that I ever used when I first started dotting. Were those little round, I don't know if I have any here, no. They're like clear with that spiral in them. Sometimes they come in clear, different colors. Some people love them. I did too when I first started out, and then once I got my hand in doing this all the time, I realized that they weren't the best because they would chip a lot at the edges. And then when you went to go dot, that chip would cause your circle to be like pumped, like moved in a little bit on one side. And gosh, it just looked horrible. So I scrapped those and said, never again, I'm not using these anymore. And I invested in my DIYs, which are these. And I've been using these for, gosh, 7 years now. The same ones too. I'm also very neat with my dotting tools. I like to take care of them. I don't like when there's a ton of paint all on them, and I don't know how you guys dot like that. Last one here. Good. And then we have one more row to do. Should I do one more? Don't know. I think I'm going to leave it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. I'm worried about putting one right here because I feel like it's going to be too squished. So I'm just going to leave it. Negative space is better sometimes than trying to squish in a ton of dots. Remember that. If you squish in a dot, sometimes you regret doing that because then you stand back and say, oh gosh, what did I just do? You know? And then you don't know how to fix it. So I always find that if I hesitate on something, there's a reason for it. So I decide not to put the dot there. So we finished it. Like I said, I might go back through this spot and do some of these dots. In fact, I probably should now that my paint is still wet, because it is part of the background realistically, right? So I think we should do that. So we're going to start right here, I'd say. We're going to do that part. We're going to do that part. That line, that line, that line, that line. And then in here, oh, let's see. So we kind of missed that part because we have this in the way. We do have the white available. Maybe we'll do the white in the center and call it a day. I don't want to have to try and get some of that color there. The only way this would have worked maybe is if like we taped off all these little areas and then stamped it, and then you could peel it up and you would only have half the circle. But that's a lot of work and I don't want to go there with that. So I think we're just going to do these little sections and that's it. So we're going to have to go back. So we're going to have to go back to our size 6. And we are going to go into our Portobello. And I'm just going to do, and now I'm kissing the surface with this one, guys. Very lightly, see? It's very, very light. Let's see. There we go. So I just did that one right there. So I just lightly did that. I'm going to do that for the rest of them. So right here. Right there. And again, I'm really just doing this because I'm acting as if like this was my prior design. This is my plate, and then I wanted to do a design element on top of it. So that's how we're working that one out. Alright, so the Portobello's done. Next we're going to go into, we're just going to continue like we're doing again. We're going to do size 7. Hopefully it fits. I'm a little concerned it might not. Maybe we should do the size 6 just to be on the safe side. I think so. We're going to do our Khaki Tan. I might need some more of this. So guys, I'm sticking with the size 6. You're not going to notice it because, you know, 7 is almost the same size. And again, I'm just kissing that surface, and I'm doing each one of these all the way around here. So right here, and this one. The next one, I can do the white, and I am going to go up. So I'm going to do my size, let's see if size 8 would fit, just by putting the dotting tool on that particular spot. Yeah, I think it would fit. It's just going to fit, actually. So let's do Sugared Peach with the size 8. And again, this one I am just lightly kissing that surface. And that one's a close one. It's very, very tight. I almost wonder if 7 would have been better. So there's that one. The next color should be 9, but I don't think it's gonna fit. So we're gonna stay at 8. So we're gonna do the same size. And we're gonna do the Mississippi Mud. And again, if you notice, I'm only knowing which one because I'm following that. So that technically is, if you imagine, is going underneath here, and it's surfacing there because there's no, design there, and then it's kind of hiding behind it again, and that's the illusion I'm trying to give for this one, at least. Good. This is going to start getting tricky now because this one's rather large, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see that in there, like so. I think I might stop there, unless I do a smaller size. But realistically, you're supposed to have a bigger size there, so... what should we do? Size 8 is... that's pretty big. Let's try 8 and see how it looks. So I'm going in my honey brown with my size 8. What do you think? Does it look weird? I think it looks pretty cool. It looks good. We're going to stick with it. So I'm going to do size 8 with our honey brown. Just in that area too. I'm doing like where they all intersect and cross right there. So it's going to look like that. My little lazy Susan's getting a little lazy here. It's not really spinning on me anymore. Okay, I think that's going to be it for that though. I'm not going to go with the Portobello and try to make it in between those little negative spaces. It's just not going to work for me. So that's that. Let's leave that as it is. Now we're going to focus on these white ones. So let's see what colors we had. Let's see, this was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we want to get our 13 dotting tool. And then go into our Sugared Peach. And I'm wondering if I should just fill that in or if I should do this. Let's see how this looks. So I'm gonna focus on the center of this portion here. See this like center area? So that's really the negative space, right? Because these are all swooshes that surround it. I'm debating if I want to fill it all in or if I should do a dot. I think I should do a dot only because the rest of it is the same way. So I'm going to do it. We're going to do it. Let's go for it. So I'm just dotting the center right there. I am also, if you notice, I'm following that line here all the way to there, just so I know that's where it's going to fall. I don't know if I should do 2, 3. I managed to get 3 in there. I think it looks good. Yeah, we're going to do 3. I was going to do 1, but we're going to do 3. So try to get 3 in there, guys. If you can only do 1, if you feel comfortable just doing the 1 like that, then just do 1. I'm going to do 3. These side ones here are kind of smaller. I'm not really going all the way down with my dotting tool. So, just so you know. And 1 more. Just be careful you don't put your hand in anything wet too. Like I just did. See? I just put it in the white. And the last one. Yay! That's it. Good. Alrighty, so let's zoom out and see what we've been working with here. Ooh, sorry. So, that looks great. Looks almost like Aztec, kind of, right? It looks neat. So, that's our first element to design that we're going to work on. The next portion of this is going to be focusing on we're going to probably do our teardrops with our orange, and then we'll go into doing our blues. And then we're almost done, actually. So, I've got my orange still mixed. I want to make sure that its consistency is still pretty good. Which, it's starting to dry out a little bit, but it's not terrible. We got enough here, though. So, what I'm going to do now, if you need to mix more orange, please do so. I am going to get, I think I'm going to get the size 17 dotting tool, or the 16. Maybe the 16 one? Let's see. I think 17. 17. We're gonna load up paint on our 17 dot, or a dotting tool. I'll zoom in so you can see. I have to move this back a bit here so you can actually see it. And I am gonna do one dot at the base of that teardrop like that, and then with my dotting stylus, or if you have one of these that can pull, I'm going to try to use this one, I think. You can take that paint carefully and pull your paint up. I might need something bigger because this is a really large dotting tool. So I'm going to use like a size 3, I think, with the ball at the end. Just so that I can do. And I'm going to only go about halfway up. And then I'm going to switch over to a smaller stylus. This way I can get that nice tapered look. But I'm really just following the line, the design I drew. Not going too far out. So that went out a little bit too far. If I have to add more paint, I'm just going to use like the dotting tool as like an eyedropper. So I just bring down some paint. And then I'm going to pull that paint up all the way. So now I'm at the point where I got to put my big dotting tool down because I'm holding multiple ones here. I'm going to clean off my stylus. I'm going to flip it around to the smaller edge, which is like the size 2. And I'm just going to continue to pull that up until I get to my X, or in this reference, the honey brown color. So we're going to end in between there. So you should have something that looks like that. Don't worry about the line here. I'm going to be erasing them anyway. I really just wanted to focus on when I did that circle down here, I tapered up. I don't want to go too far out because then it might look strange. It's not going to look like a teardrop, so to speak. So if I do that again, let's see, right here. So I'm going to grab my dotting tool. Really getting in there with some paint. Carefully dot that circle. I kind of bled in there a little bit, but that's alright. I'm going to pull up the center. I'm really following my segment line. That's what I'm following for the center. I'm going to go up. And then at this corner, I'm going to pull up. That's how you can make a really nice, perfect swoosh. Is by following those segment lines. You want this part to be centered with that segment line. So I got about 2/3 the way up. And then I'm going to take my size 2 and lightly pull some paint up like that. So that's how that should look. It's a nice tapered look. I gotta do 2 more of these. That looks good. So one more. So I'm curious how many of my viewers that watch these videos are moms, because we have only about a week and a half left of summer vacation, and then they go back to school. I'm a mom of 2 kids, 2 great kids, and oh gosh, I love them so much. And my baby is starting kindergarten, so I have nobody left at home. It's going to be very different this year, for sure. I'm excited because I get my freedom back a bit, but I'm also very sad because my kids are growing up. And I think when they get older, you start to, you're not needed as much anymore. And that could be very hard and But I have a lot of faith in my babies. They're very smart and they know what they want, and I'm so proud of them. My son just turned 9 and my daughter is 5, so they're still little, but they're getting there. So I did my orange. So we have our orange right there. Those are like nice big swooshes that we did. And now I think we're good with all of that. So we can focus on doing our colors. Yay! We're going to do a couple of these accent colors in this design as well. It's not going to be all blue, but we are going to focus on these now. So let's get our paint pots out that we had. And we're going to focus on some of these colors now. So I would just pick one of your elements that you want, either one. I'm probably going to go around and do each one the same way. This way, like, I'm not doing one having to clean everything. I'm going to do one color and keep going on the same thing because they're all going to look the same. So whatever you do for this, you're going to have to repeat 3 times. So let's do our paint pots. If you have your paint pots and your paints are all ready to go and mixed, we're going to start with, I think we're going to start with Thicket. Now, I have 11 colors. 11 colors should take me from here to here. And then from here, I can go backwards and end there. That's my outer perimeter. My inner perimeter, I think I'm going to focus on doing Laurel and a couple other variations of colors. Even so, like this center portion, I think we're going to do maybe like the honey brown or the orange and keep going that way. In fact, this part right here, let's zoom in so we can see better. I gotta clean some stuff up here. Let's see. Let's move these paints out of the way. That's better. Sorry, I know it's so hard to see sometimes. So what I'm talking about here, let's get my stylus so I can point to it. This inner part right here, it kind of looks like the center gem of it. This I think I'm going to do my sugared peach. I'm going to do white just for that contrast. And then this next portion, maybe we'll do, I think we're going to do the Portobello color, only because I like that color with the teal. So we're going to do that first, and then we can go with our paint pots. So let's see here. I'm going to get a size 10 dotting tool first. Where's my 10s at? I keep losing all my dotting tools. Where are my 10s at? There it is. Yeah, I think so. So we're going to use 10. And we're going to just dip it in our sugared peach. And the way I'm going to do this now is I'm just going to dot slightly at the base, like so. And then with the Stylus tool, I'm using the 3, it's like kind of in between. I'm just going to pull that paint up, and I'm just following that curve of the shape that I have. So if you feel more comfortable just using paint instead of dipping a dotting tool in and then moving that around, please by all means do that. If you want to use a brush or anything like that, you can. The purpose really is to just get enough paint and then fill in that portion. And I like just doing the dotting tool in the bottom because it already rounds it out, and then you don't have to worry about trying to make that rounded edge at the bottom. So I'm going to keep going around with these. I'm going to do these first. Oh, I got some paint there. That's alright, we'll have to touch that out. So this one again, I'm going to pull that paint up. And I'm really just going to where that pencil ends. There we go. And if I have to, I'm going to flip it around and use the smaller end of my stylus. Like so. Last one. Beautiful. Perfect. Alright. So there's my first part. Let me get that a little bit rounded out. It looks a little off. Round that out there. That looks good. So now, let's do our Portobello. Now I'm going to switch it up a bit. So I'm going to clean off my dotting tool I had, put that aside, and then I'm going to pull out my size 5, the larger one, and I'm going to go into my Portobello. I think I need to add a little bit more pouring medium to it because it's starting to bind up now. When I say bind, it just kind of starts to thicken it up. Okay, so, and to fix that, all you need to do is add a little bit more pouring medium to it. It's not the end of the world. Alright, so you just want a nice loose. So what I'm going to do is I got a nice amount of on my dotting tool, see? And it's nicely thin. And I'm going to dot on the one side, the base, like so. And I'm just going to use the dotting tool to pull up like so. And then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to use the smaller end to taper off like so. And you should have a nice amount of paint there. It's going to create a little bit of a bubble there. It might fall flat a little bit, but I don't think it should. It won't run though, if that's what you're worried about. It's not going to do that. You're just going to dot like that. See, it's got a nice big bubble. Then I'm just going to keep pulling that paint carefully. And then I'm going to fill in with the smaller end of my dotting tool. And I'm just going to pull up. Okay, so I'll do that for each one. This is that Portobello color. I love this color. It's one of my favorites. It's kind of like a cross between, it's almost like a clay color. I like it though. Do you guys ever find yourself falling into using the same colors all the time and like others you don't ever use? I'm like that with plums and purples. I don't hate the color, but I'm not fond of purple. I never was. So it's hard for me to incorporate that into a lot of my designs. I always find that I lean more towards blues. My favorite color is kind of yellow, I think, and blues. But I do find myself gravitating to more colors than others. I should try to broaden my horizons here and do different tones and colors, and I'm a more naturalist type of person, so I find that I gravitate to things that are more like nature friendly. More like earth tones, neutral colors. Curious to know what kind of colors you guys like. Is there any kind of tutorial too that you would love to see get done with a certain, you know, like color pattern, color palette, I should say, color palette? Because I'm really open to doing much, you know. Sometimes I need ideas because it can be challenging coming up with some. I have a lot this year. I have a lot coming up for everyone too, and I'm excited about that. We're going to have a fun fall here and doing some projects, so I'm excited about it. I have some ornament tutorials coming up for Christmas, and I have a Christmas mug that I want to do. So we've got some fun things lined up for our future if you continue to watch me, and we're a little community here, so keep your YouTube open and keep checking out for new videos. Lately I've been really trying to post either on Sunday and Mondays. Those are kind of my days to be posting, so keep an eye out, guys. I do have one coming out soon. So Portobello's done. That's how it should look. Cool. So now we get our paint pots out. Get your Thicket color out and mix some up of the regular color, because all my paint pots actually have it's a different tint. So I need one of the actual color first. So let's do the Thicket first. We're going to go from dark to light and then from light to dark. And that's how we're going to do our nice gradient. So, got my paint mixed. So there's my Thicket right there. Again, I'm going to use the same tool. And I'm dotting right below. And filling that in. So that's our first color like that. Now, I'm just going to do one so you guys can see what we're going to do first. So then you can work it out on your own time. Otherwise, my videos are going to be like super duper long. So, do your first color Thicket. Now, get your darker shades out of your... I mean, they're all tints, really. I shouldn't say shades because they're tints. I added white to it. Anytime you add white to it, it's going to be a tint. Remember that. If you add black to it, you're making a shade. I tend to forget to, and I always just say shade. So, you know. So I'm going to use the first darker color that I started with. Going to be very similar to... Now I'm doing this with a dotting tool. Like I said, if you have mastered doing it with a brush, then by all means you can do it that way. I just like the more precision look of my tapered ends when I do something like that. And that's just a preference. If you feel you can do it the other way around, I know like Demi from Thoughtful Dots offers really great tutorials on doing brush swooshes and things like that. She's really great. So, you know, you can definitely try to do that if you want. Like I said, I just prefer to do it this way. I think when you're first learning swooshes, a brush can be overwhelming, for sure. And if you're not used to doing it, I even sometimes still get overwhelmed when I use brushes. Dotting tools and dotting should be dots. Sometimes brushes are like, I don't know. Just kind of throws me off sometimes. So I'm doing my next color. Oof, these are so hard to open. Wow. There we go. Now, again, same Stylus tool I'm using. It's the size 5. I'm just mixing up these paints in here to make sure that they're nicely mixed because they have been sitting for a day. Alright, next color. So again, I'm just moving that around and moving my paint up. And then once I can't anymore, I'm going to pull out the size 2, turn it around. And from here I like to get that negative space in between the two colors. I am filling it in 100%. I'm not leaving any blank spaces. And then I'm pulling it so it's tapered towards the center like so. Next color. If you have to get a little bit more, just dip your Stylus tool in some of that paint and then move it towards the center like so. Perfect. Alright. So we're good with that color. So I guess if I wanted to number these, this would be tint number 2 from the dark spectrum. So 1, 2, now we're doing 3. I love doing these designs. I love doing tints and monochromatic colors. I think it's really fun to experiment with them. It also teaches you how to, you know, mix your paints too and make multitude of different color, like different, you know, tints and shades. Or hues too. Tones. And then I'll do this side. I think with the Stylus too, you can get like a nice amount of paint so they become nice and plump, you know? Yeah. So that's the next color. So that is tint number 3. So now we're going to do tint number 4. You know what? Hang on. I put my hand in this, so I want to fix it real quick. There we go. So we're going to do our fort tint, number 4 tint, 1, 2, 3, 4, on the other side. So there is the number 4 tint color. And we're going to go next. We're just going to keep going. So we're going to clean off this. And we're going to go into number 5. This will be the second to last one. So now we're going to go into our last one. This is our number 6 tint. And then we'll do the rest of these here. Guys, so we're going to continue our tints. So this is the other 4 colors that we mixed. So I'm going to do the 7th one. Guys, so now we're going to go into our last 4 colors here of our tints. So we're going to go into our 7th one. So we finished the 6, and I'm going to go into 7. So now we're going to go into our tint in number 8. And we're almost done with this side here. So here. Moving right along. Tint number 9 color. Okay guys, so this is the last tint that we have, the lightest color. So this is tint number, and it's 11, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. So this should be 11. I think I counted wrong last time, sorry. Maybe it should be 9 if you don't count the actual color. So if you're counting the actual color, then Thicket would be your first tint. And then you would go from there. But I counted the tints alone, so it should be 9. And this one's going to be this last large one here. And then all we're going to do, guys, which I'm going to do in a time lapse to speed up this process, is I'm going to go backwards. So the next one back would be the next lightest, the color that I had, and go back down that way. Guys, so we finished our element here of our beautiful little gradient of a design here. What I want you to do now is, stop the video if you want, if you can, and then work on your other 3, and then we'll pick up from there and we'll continue the inner parts of this design, and then we'll be finishing up. All right, I'll see you back here soon. So we finished all of these nice elements with the monochromatic colors in the Thicket color. And you should have something that looks like this. A little bit of my paint is still a little bit wet, but I did finish these. It will take you some time, so don't fear and don't stress that, you're taking a lot longer than expected. I took a lot of breaks in between, and I did manage to get this done for you. So the next part that we're going to do is we're going to focus on this inner portion here, because that's really all that's left of this piece, and then we're going to clean up our lines and then we can seal it off. So to zoom in, I'm going to show you really quick this little area right here, this little guy. We're going to do him orange, so there should be 4 of them on each one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my dotting tool. I'm working with the same size, the size 5 that I've been working with. I used the size 5 for all of these colors actually, and all I did was simply fill it in. This I'm just going to top that. I'm going to dot that top portion now, and then I'm going to want to pull that paint down. I'm kind of pulling it into a bit of a point as well, like that's a little bit of a swoosh, something like that. And I'll do that for all 4 of these. Okay, that's good. So that's done. So the orange is finished. I'd say that orange is going to be finished from now on. We're not going to do orange anymore. We just wanted to do a few accent points for the orange like that. So to see it a little bit zoomed out, this is just one segment here. So we have 3 others just like the same. So what we're going to do now, we're going to focus on doing these colors in here. So again, I'm going to use the browns that I had originally for the background. I want to fill that part in, but I'm going to do solid colors just like I did this portion. I did have the Laurel color, which I can throw in there because it does have a little bit more of a green hue than it does this turquoise color. So I think I will throw this in as well. And so the colors, I think we're going to start with the orange like we did. And then I think from there we're going to do the honey brown. Then we'll do Laurel. And then we're going to do, we're going to do the khaki, Portobello, and then Mississippi mud, and probably the sugared peach after that. I'm not exactly sure. I am going to do the honey brown right now though. I'm starting over with my paints also because they got a little dry. I don't need much though. I'm going to add a few drops of the pouring medium. I know a lot of people state that they can use the DecoArt straight out of the bottle. If you prefer that, by all means go ahead. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I personally like to add my pouring medium. Like I said, it gives me a nice binder. It helps bind up the paints, and it does loosen them a bit because the DecoArt out of the bottle, it can get a little thick at times. So what I'm doing, if you notice, is the next layers, the next swooshes that I have here are the honey brown, just like so. So I'm going to do that for all four as well. So again, all I'm really doing is dotting the whitest part, and then I'm pulling that paint. I don't need much. And then I'm pulling that paint down into a nice little point. If your dotting tool is a little bit on the fatter side, like this point, I would recommend getting a skinnier end and then pulling your dots. I think even so with this honey brown, I'm going to probably pull those ends with my long tip, my puller. And that's just going to make like a nice pointy edge to it. That looks good. So now our next color we're going to do is the Laurel. And again, if you notice, I didn't use much. So this is my paint that's dried, but I'm using a tiny little bit. It's not much. I'm going to try to let it stretch into this middle portion here. Okay, did some medium, and then I'm just going to mix it up. It's funny when you dot for so long, certain sounds like this, like the mixing, it just always reminds me of dotting now. It's funny. It's like a constant sound now that I hear all the time because I paint every day. Do you guys paint every day? I'm curious. I don't think I can go a day without painting. It really has become my life, and that is amazing to me because I love painting. I've always loved painting. I have been painting probably since I was about 5 years old, I'd say. My mother was a painter, and she loved drawing. And I took to it as well. So at a very young age, I loved to draw. When I was a teenager, I loved drawing. I had artwork everywhere. And then as I became a young adult, I went to a very nice art school. And from there, as an artist, it was hard to find my niche. It was hard to find what it was that I wanted to do in life as an artist. You can get really discouraged when you don't know much about college and, you know, like what's out there as far as being an artist. I was always told that, you know, to be an artist is like impossible and you need to focus on something that's more important in life. You know, even going to school, they would tell me things like that. That you can't really find a job being an artist. And, you know, I'm kind of here to prove that you can. You have to work really hard at it, but you can. I think the most rewarding thing after working, you know, in different odds and end types jobs is that I'm doing exactly what I love to do in my point of my life. And I think that's what makes me the happiest right now, is that I can do this. I discovered this craft, I'd say, a little bit before when quarantine started. I discovered this type of technique, I should say. I was actually, I'm a full-time photographer, and I was always taking pictures. And, you know, I'd say about 7 years ago, I had my first child. Well, actually, it's been more than that. He just turned 9, so, you know, but I'd say about 7 years ago is when I was at my all-time low. I was out of school, I was married, and I had my first child, and having a child is like completely different in what your former life has been. And so I think any mom would know that feeling. And I lost my drive to be an artist. And I was very sad about it because I wanted so much to do something. And so I started to make myself pick up my camera again. And then I really started getting into it full time. And then I started doing portraits of people. And I really loved it, but I'm a very introvert type of person. So it was hard for me to have a legit business doing that. I like to do things at my own pace, and I'm a very calm type person. So the next color we're going to do is the Khaki Tan. Alright. So yeah, for a few years I did that, and then I also worked for a couple really big companies based out of New York City, and it was good, but it wasn't what I loved. So, you know, I was doing image editing and still didn't find my calling on that. And, you know, I kind of said, I'm just going to stay home. I'm going to take care of my baby. My husband and I could do that. And I started to start exploring the landscape around me, and I really just got big into it. And then I actually got motivated to start painting the landscapes I was taking pictures of. So it was kind of a double win. I was painting mostly on rocks, which was really neat. I was finding like nice, like a slate rock. And what I would do is I would paint it, and then I would go to the spot that I photographed it, and I would leave it there for someone. Kind of like those happy trail rocks, but they were very like intricate. So whoever found those rocks, you struck gold. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. And then, you know, obviously when a little bit before quarantine hit, I started doing some mandala dotting on the rocks as well. I was really horrible at it, but I kept trying to do it. And then I started to see places like Pinterest. I started following Lydia, and it was like really interesting. And I felt so calm. Like, I felt like I meditated all day when I painted. And I knew that I really loved this style. So, you know, I've continued to photograph as well. I kind of do it simultaneously. So I've taken a little bit of a break from doing some photography because I've gotten so many images now that I have a nice collection. And so I have taken a step back from that, and I'm pretty much doing full-time painting now for everybody that watches my videos. I sell things on Etsy. I am a little entrepreneur, I should say. And I couldn't be happier. So, I truly do thank everybody that takes the time to watch my videos. It really is like, I've always been somebody who loves to just teach people things. I'm so shy to be a teacher, but yet I love teaching people things, and I love showing people how to do things. And I've always been told that I'm good at explaining things, so that's always a bonus. And I don't know, it's just so doing this for everybody is I'm in my comfort zone. So our next color is Portobello, so we're going to do that the next one up. Yeah, that's like a little bit of my background though, for sure. I've always been an artist though, and I do have formal training in it now. I've gone to school for it, and I mainly studied interior architecture. So I know a lot about like colors, and I also did some painting and drawing. I learned about textiles. I learned about lighting, and then I also double majored, so I also threw in that photography. I did photography, so I think I'm just my happiest when I am thrown into a world of artistic people and just anything that has to do with colors. It just makes me happy. I'm curious if, other people like myself paint like every day, or at least try to. We're almost done with this color. So Portobello is done. Now we can go right into we're going to go into our Mississippi mud. And then so I think once we finish this color, we are going to maybe repeat the process or go backwards like we did with this pattern. I have to see how many colors we have left here that we need to fulfill. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colors. So when we're working with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, we're gonna have to repeat a few colors, but that's okay. I could throw in some new colors, but I wanted to keep this, with my browns and with my teals. That was really the inspiration for this one, was just those basic colors. I really am loving this pattern though. I love this thing. This is really neat. I like, especially almost, even if you did half of it, it kind of looks like a butterfly, doesn't it? It's so cool. I'm going to start drawing more of these patterns. This is the first time I've experimented with something like this, so I hope you guys like it. I hope it's good practice too, as far as, learning patterns and, figuring out swooshes. It's all good practice. The Mississippi mud is done. So now I think I'm gonna go backwards again, the way that this was. So that means I'm going to do the Portobello again, like so. And then like the next one will be the tan, and so on. I might do a rest of the time lapse with this one, only because the videos can tend to get really long. And I don't want you getting sleepy on me. You have to paint it, not fall asleep in it. So yeah, we're going to do a time lapse. So now we're going to, I think we're going to go back into doing some of the Portobello and the Mississippi mud. And probably we'll do like a teal somewhere. I think we'll do teal first and then go up. So I'm going to do the Laurel color. I'm doing a little dotting tool with this one because it's very small. So again, I'm just with a clean dotting stylus. I'm just going to pull that Laurel color a little bit out, tapered out. I can zoom in and show you. So I did that right there, that little bit right there. So if I do it again, I'll show you. These are pretty small, these ones, so we want a small stylus for this one. And then with a clean stylus, so lightly pull that. And this one too. And I only go as far as it allows me to go. I'm not going to go like all the way down. So the next color we're going to do is honey brown, I think I'm going to do. And I'll do Portobello and then the Mississippi mud is the last one. So I'm going to get honey brown. And I'm only doing the honey brown here is because I have a dot there, so I don't want it to get confused with it, you know, too close together. And these are really tiny swooshes, so okay, the next one I'm going to do is the Portobello here. Guys, so let's zoom out. This is our completed mandala. Way different than what I usually do, but really cool. And I love how we can just explore different patterns and how we can make this look beautiful. What I'm going to do is probably go through real quick and I'm going to clean up my lines. Alright, I'm going to get some just basic Q-tips or some wet paper towel and I'm going to clean up all of my lines here and go all the way throughout the whole thing. And then when I finish, I like to finish with Mod Podge. I like to use the satin acrylic clear acrylic sealer. I think this one comes out really nice. It's not very, very glossy. It's in between, so it gives it a nice look. And then the back, obviously, I will paint it black and I'm going to sign it as usual. And this completes our tutorial on this. Thank you so much for staying with me and doing this project. It was a lot of fun and it's very different, and I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you can subscribe and like the channel, share it, and hit the bell for future videos, that would be great, guys. One more thing, I didn't want to do it, but I did make a Patreon, and it's really just to help my funding for the costs that I have to spend out of my pocket to create all of these things for you. If you feel the need to donate, you by all means, thank you so much if you can. If you can't, do not worry about it. It's quite okay. I'm not looking for money. I'm really just looking for people to learn from this. So that's my agenda. Thank you so much, guys, and happy dotting as always, and we'll catch you on the next one, okay? Bye. Hi, guys. So this is Marcy from Prints and Paints, and today we are going to learn how to do this beautiful, different, and unique mandala. It is a beautiful series of dots that lay in the background. And then overlapping that, we've done a series of these three-dimensional looking swooshes. It's really different, very unique, and I love it. And if you're interested in doing this tutorial with me, stay tuned and we'll get to it.